I used to believe family meant unconditional loyalty, that marriage vows were sacred. Then I walked in on my wife Amanda in bed with my half-brother Jackson. The betrayal was devastating enough, but what followed broke me completely. When I called my father Richard Blackwood expecting support, his response chilled me to the bone. Keep it quiet for the family image. That was the moment I realized the wealthy, respected family I had been born into valued appearances over everything else, including my dignity. They never expected me to choose justice over peace. Before I tell you how I burned my entire family legacy to the ground, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if you believe loyalty should always come before image. I was born into privilege as the legitimate son of Richard Blackwood, a man whose name adorned half the commercial real estate in our city. From skyscrapers to shopping malls, the Blackwood empire was visible everywhere. My childhood was comfortable but complicated. My mother Elizabeth came from old money and married my father to unite two powerful families. Their marriage was more business arrangement than love story, but they maintained appearances perfectly. Everything changed when I was 10 years old. One ordinary Tuesday, my father gathered the family in our formal living room and introduced us to Jackson, his 11-year-old son from an affair with his former secretary. My mother sat stone-faced beside my father as he explained that Jackson would now be part of our family. His mother had died unexpectedly, and Richard had decided to take responsibility for his son rather than sending him to distant relatives. "Fabian," my father said, "you have a brother now. I expect you to welcome him." That night, I heard my mother crying behind the closed door of her bedroom suite. Yet the next morning, she appeared at breakfast, immaculately dressed, treating Jackson with detached politeness. This became our family pattern: maintain appearances at all costs. As we grew up, the dynamic between Jackson and me grew increasingly strained. My father, perhaps from guilt, overcompensated with Jackson, showering him with attention and forgiveness that I never received. Where I faced strict consequences for any misstep, Jackson's transgressions were minimized or ignored. When I earned academic honors, it was expected. When Jackson managed passing grades, it warranted celebration. My mother maintained a cold tolerance toward Jackson, while pushing me to be better than them all. I became the peacemaker, the good son who smoothed tensions and maintained family harmony. I excelled academically, joined the right clubs, and cultivated the proper social connections. I became exactly who my family needed me to be, suppressing any resentment behind a perfect smile. I met Amanda during my junior year at Princeton. She was studying art history, passionate and vibrant, in a way that felt refreshingly authentic compared to my calculated world. With dark hair that fell in natural waves and an infectious laugh, she captivated me immediately. Unlike the society girls I typically dated, Amanda challenged me intellectually and seemed unimpressed by my family name. "Your family sounds exhausting," she said after I revealed some sanitized version of our dynamics. "Always worrying about what others think must be suffocating." Her apparent understanding of the pressure I lived under made me feel truly seen for perhaps the first time. Our relationship progressed quickly, and by graduation, we were inseparable. I proposed a year later, offering not just a 5-carat diamond, but the promise of a more authentic life than the one I had grown up in. The wedding was lavish, of course. The Blackwood name demanded nothing less. 600 guests, a cathedral ceremony, and a reception at the family estate. Amanda charmed everyone, especially my father, who declared her the best thing that ever happened to this family. Even Jackson seemed genuinely happy for us, giving a best man speech that moved the room to tears. After our honeymoon in the Maldives, we settled into the Upper East Wing of the family estate while our own home was being built. Amanda was quickly absorbed into Blackwood family life, accompanying my mother to charity events and often spending time with my father, discussing art acquisitions for his buildings. Most surprisingly, she developed a close friendship with Jackson, the two of them sharing an interest in contemporary art that I never quite understood. I joined the family business as expected, working directly under my father, alongside Jackson, who had proven unexpectedly adept at client relationships despite his mediocre business degree. The three of us presented a united front to the business world, with me handling strategic development, Jackson managing client relations, and my father overseeing it all. By 30, I had everything a man could ostensibly want: a beautiful wife, a successful career, a newly completed 12,000 square foot home on 2 acres, adjacent to the family estate, and the respect of my community. Amanda and I began discussing starting a family, though she seemed increasingly hesitant to establish a timeline. The first signs that something was wrong were subtle. Amanda began attending more art functions, without me, often returning home late smelling of wine and wearing a flushed, distracted expression. She grew protective of her phone, taking it even to the bathroom. Our physical relationship cooled, with Amanda frequently claiming headaches or exhaustion. When I expressed concern, she blamed work stress. "The gallery is considering me for director," she explained. "I need to network and prove myself." I supported her ambitions, proud of her accomplishments. If I occasionally noticed her and Jackson in intense conversation that stopped when I approached, I dismissed it as family business. If business trips increasingly required both Jackson and me to be away from home simultaneously, I never connected the dots. My father began suggesting I take more extended business trips, insisting I was ready to handle international clients alone. "Jackson can manage things here," he would say. "You need to expand your horizons." Looking back, the signs were blindingly obvious. But I trusted my family. I trusted my wife. That trust would prove to be my greatest weakness. Our 5th wedding anniversary fell during a scheduled business trip to Tokyo. The meetings concluded a day earlier than expected, and I decided to surprise Amanda. I bought a rare art book she had been coveting, picked up her favorite macarons from the French bakery downtown, and arrived home 24 hours before she expected me. I entered our home quietly, hearing music playing upstairs. Smiling at the thought of surprising her, I climbed the stairs to our bedroom suite. The door was partially open, and what I saw through that gap shattered my world instantly. Amanda and Jackson were in our bed, my bed so entangled in each other they did not notice me at first. The betrayal hit me in physical waves, nausea rising as every moment of trust between us revealed itself as a lie. I stood frozen, unable to process the scene before me. Then, Amanda saw me. Her eyes widened in horror, mouth opening in a silent scream as she scrambled to cover herself. "Fabian," she gasped, shoving at Jackson. "Oh God, Fabian, this is not what it looks like." Jackson turned, his expression shifting from shock to a strange resignation. He made no move to leave the bed or even cover himself properly. "What it looks like," my voice sounded strange, distant. "It looks like my wife and my brother are fucking in my bed. Please let me explain." Amanda begged, tears already streaming down her face. "It just happened. We never meant to hurt you." "Just happened," I repeated. The shock was giving way to rage. "You just happened to get naked together, just happened to betray the two people who should have been able to trust you most." Jackson finally spoke, reaching for his discarded clothes. "Fabian, brother, you need to calm down. We can talk about this like adults." "Do not call me brother," I said, my voice deadly quiet. "You are not my brother. You never were." Amanda was sobbing now, clutching the sheet to her chest. "Please, Fabian, I love you. This was a mistake." "How long?" I demanded. When neither answered, I slammed my fist against the doorframe. "How long has this been going on?" "A few months," Amanda whispered. "Liar." I spat, recognizing the familiar cadence of her deception. "Try again." Jackson sighed, finally meeting my eyes. "About 2 years. 2 years. Half of our marriage. Every anniversary we had celebrated, every family holiday, every business trip I had taken, all now reframed as opportunities for their betrayal. "Get out," I said quietly. "Both of you get out of my house." "Fabian, be reasonable," Jackson started. "Where is Amanda supposed to go?" "I do not care if she sleeps in a gutter," I replied. "She has 30 minutes to pack essentials. Anything left behind will be burned." I turned and walked out, ignoring Amanda's hysterical pleading. I got into my car and drove aimlessly for hours, my mind replaying years of interactions with new sickening clarity. The late-night gallery events that Jackson had unexpectedly attended. The odd tension when I returned early from trips. My father's increasing insistence that I travel for business while Jackson remained local. My father. Did he know I checked into a hotel downtown around midnight, unable to bear returning to what had been my home? Sleep was impossible. I spent the night documenting everything I could remember, dates and times, when Amanda and Jackson had both been unaccounted for suspicious behavior, conversations that now carried new meaning. At 7 the next morning, I called my father, desperate for the support of the one family member who might understand the depth of this betrayal. "Dad, I need to see you," I said when he answered. "Something terrible has happened." "I know, son," he replied, his voice unnervingly calm. "Jackson called me last night." Hope flared briefly that my father was already handling the situation, perhaps already cutting Jackson out of the family and business. "I will be right over," I said. "No," he countered. "Meet me at the club for breakfast. 8:30, private dining room." The country club was already buzzing with early morning golfers when I arrived. My father sat at our usual table in the members-only section, reading financial news on his tablet and sipping black coffee as if it were any normal day. "Sit down, Fabian," he said without looking up. "You look terrible." "I found Amanda and Jackson together," I said, my voice breaking. "In my bed." My father finally looked up, his face impassive. "Yes, these things happen. The question is, how we handle it moving forward." I stared at him in disbelief. "These things happen. My wife and brother betrayed me in the worst possible way, and that is your response." "Lower your voice," he warned, glancing around. "Look, son, I understand you are upset, but we need to handle this quietly. The family name and business cannot afford a scandal right now, not with the Richardson merger on the horizon." "I do not care about the business right now," I said. "I am filing for divorce. And as for Jackson, I want him out of the company." My father set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. "That would be an overreaction. Marriages hit rough patches. People make mistakes. This was not a mistake. It was a deliberate betrayal that went on for years." Something flickered across my father's face, quickly suppressed but unmistakable guilt. "You knew," I realized, feeling sick all over again. "You knew about the affair." He had the decency to look uncomfortable at least. "I had suspicions. Then I found out for certain about 3 months ago. And you did not tell me." The betrayal was expanding, consuming more of my family with each revelation. "I was protecting you," he insisted. "I spoke to both of them, told them to end it. I thought they had." "Protecting me," I laughed bitterly. "By letting me live a lie. By sending me on international trips so my brother could sleep with my wife more conveniently. That is not fair, Fabian." "Fair? Do you know what is not fair? Finding out that my entire family has been lying to me. That the people I trusted most in the world have been laughing behind my back." My father leaned forward, lowering his voice. "This is exactly the kind of emotional reaction I was trying to prevent. Listen to me carefully. You need to consider forgiveness for appearances at least. The divorce proceedings would be public record. Your mother's health is fragile. The business would suffer. So I should stay married to a woman who has been cheating on me with my brother. For appearances, for family," he corrected. "We are Blackwoods. We handle things differently." I stood up, unable to remain at the table a moment longer. "I will not be part of this twisted version of family. Not anymore. Sit down, Fabian. We have not finished discussing this." "I think we have." As I turned to leave, he delivered the final blow. "Before you make any rash decisions, you should know that some of your anniversary trips with Amanda were funded by family money. The cabin in Aspen, the villa in Tuscany. Jackson accompanied her on both occasions when you were called away for business emergencies. The manufactured business emergencies. The family money funding their rendezvous. My father's complicity in their betrayal. It was too much. You have made your choice clear," I said quietly, "and now I will make mine." I checked into a different hotel under my middle name, paying cash and turning off my phone. I needed time to think, to plan. This betrayal went beyond a simple affair. It was a conspiracy involving my entire family, meant to preserve appearances while sacrificing my dignity and happiness. First, I needed legal representation, someone not connected to the Blackwood sphere of influence. I found Diana Chen, a ruthlessly effective divorce attorney, known for handling high-profile cases discreetly but aggressively. Her office was in a neighboring city far from my father's network. "They will try to minimize this," Diana warned during our initial consultation. "Affairs between in-laws carry a particular stigma that wealthy families often go to extreme lengths to conceal." "I do not want discretion," I replied. "I want justice." Diana smiled, a predatory gleam in her eye. "Then we will need evidence. Lots of it." I hired private investigators to document the continuing affair, suspecting that Amanda and Jackson would be unable to end their relationship despite being exposed. My intuition proved correct. Within days, the investigators delivered photos of them meeting at an apartment downtown that I had not known existed. Meanwhile, I began quietly gathering information about the family business. My father had always kept certain aspects of Blackwood development separate from my oversight, claiming these were legacy projects he handled personally. I had never questioned this arrangement, trusting that my father operated with the same integrity he demanded I display publicly. I arranged a discreet meeting with James Norris, my father's former business partner, who had left the company under mysterious circumstances years earlier. Over an expensive bottle of scotch, James revealed what I had begun to suspect: my father had been cutting corners and engaging in questionable business practices for years. Tax evasion, bribery of zoning officials, undocumented workers paid in cash, James enumerated. Your father built his empire on a foundation of shortcuts. I left when he refused to change course. Do you have proof? I asked. James smiled grimly. I kept insurance. Never used it because your father threatened to destroy my reputation if I came forward. But for you, his son, I will provide what I have. The documents James shared revealed a pattern of corruption spanning decades. My father had maintained 2 sets of books for major projects, misrepresented property values to reduce tax burdens, and bribed officials to bypass environmental regulations. Most disturbing were records showing Richard had knowingly used substandard materials in several buildings, while falsifying inspection documents. I secured these records in a safety deposit box opened under a new corporation. I formed separate from all family connections. Then I began meeting with key clients, people whose relationships I had cultivated independently over years. Without revealing my intentions, I secured commitments that they would follow me if I ever left the family business. Next came the most difficult part of my plan facing Amanda. I arranged to meet her at a neutral location, a private room at an upscale restaurant. She arrived looking simultaneously hopeful and wary, dressed immaculately, but with shadows under her eyes that makeup could not quite conceal. Thank you for meeting me, she said, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back subtly. I needed to understand some things. I will tell you anything, Fabian. I want to fix this. I produced a small recording device and placed it on the table. Her eyes widened. Is that really necessary? I think we both know the importance of having an accurate record, I replied calmly. No more lies between us. She nodded reluctantly, and I began my questions. How long had the affair actually lasted? When had it started? What had my father known, and when? With the recorder running and her believing reconciliation was possible, Amanda revealed truths more devastating than I had imagined. The affair had begun just 6 months after our wedding. My father had discovered them together over 2 years ago, but had chosen to facilitate rather than expose their betrayal. The 3 of them had discussed me as a problem to be managed, with my father increasing my international workload specifically to provide opportunities for them to be together. We never meant to hurt you, Amanda insisted tearfully. It just happened, and then we could not stop. There was just this connection between us that felt inevitable. Did you ever love me? I asked, the only question that still mattered on a personal level. Amanda hesitated too long before answering. I thought I did at the beginning. With that final confirmation, my course was set. I thanked Amanda for her honesty, led her to believe that I was processing everything and would be in touch about next steps. As she left, hope brightened her features, the belief that her honesty might have earned forgiveness. What she did not know was that I had already put my plan in motion. My attorney had divorce papers prepared. The private investigators had compiled a comprehensive dossier on the affair. I had secured copies of incriminating business documents and established back-channel communications with the State Attorney General's office regarding corporate corruption. I accepted my father's invitation to a family dinner the following week, where he clearly intended to orchestrate some form of reconciliation. My mother, still unaware of the full situation, had been told only that Amanda and I were working through issues. Jackson would be present along with my father's personal attorney. We will put this unfortunate situation behind us, my father announced once we were seated in the formal dining room. Family must stand together, especially in difficult times. I nodded agreeably, watching relief wash over their faces. They believed I had capitulated, that I would fall in line as I always had before. My father raised his glass in a toast to new beginnings, completely unaware that I had already set in motion the end of everything he had built. The papers were filed the next morning, divorce proceedings citing adultery with Jackson named explicitly as the paramour. Diana ensured the filings would not be sealed despite the Blackwood attorney's frantic efforts. Simultaneously, evidence of corporate malfeasance was delivered to 3 regulatory agencies and 2 investigative journalists who specialized in exposing corporate corruption. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. By noon, the story had broken across local news: Blackwood family scandal, heir files for divorce, amid allegations of brother's affair with wife. By evening, business reporters had begun questioning the corporate governance of Blackwood Developments. My phone exploded with calls and messages, my father alternating between rage and pleading, Amanda sobbing that I had misunderstood her intentions, Jackson threatening legal action for defamation. I responded to none of them, watching from a distance as the carefully constructed Blackwood image crumbled. The divorce proceedings became increasingly ugly. Amanda's initial contrition transformed into bitter accusations that I had been emotionally unavailable, too focused on the business, impossible to satisfy. Jackson claimed that their relationship had developed from mutual loneliness caused by my neglect. My father's legal team fought desperately to have records sealed, offering increasingly generous settlements if I would agree to discretion. I refused every offer. This was never about money. The business investigations proved even more damaging than the personal scandal, with regulatory agencies examining years of records and former employees coming forward with new allegations. Blackwood Development stock plummeted. Major clients began withdrawing from projects, unwilling to be associated with corruption allegations. The Richardson merger collapsed overnight. 6 weeks into the crisis, my mother finally broke her silence, calling me from a hotel in Switzerland. "I have left your father," she said, her voice stronger than I had heard it in years. "I should have done it decades ago, the first time he betrayed our family. I thought staying was the right thing for you. I was wrong, and I am sorry." Her unexpected support was the first genuine comfort I had felt since this nightmare began. We spoke for hours, truth flowing between us for perhaps the first time. She had known about Jackson's mother but had been told the affair was over when in fact it had continued for years. The pattern of deception in my father's life went far deeper than even I had realized. The divorce was finalized in record time, the judge clearly disgusted by the evidence presented. Amanda received none of the generous settlement she might have obtained in a no-fault divorce. Her reputation in the social circles she had valued was destroyed. The art gallery rescinded her promotion, unwilling to have their brand associated with scandal. Jackson faced his own consequences, removed from his position by the Blackwood Board of Directors once evidence emerged that he had misappropriated company resources to fund aspects of the affair. My father suffered the most complete fall. The regulatory investigations uncovered decades of financial improprieties. Criminal charges for tax evasion and bribery were filed. Major clients filed lawsuits, alleging fraud and misrepresentation. The empire he had spent his life building collapsed within months. Former friends and associates distanced themselves, unwilling to be caught in the blast radius of the Blackwood implosion. Family members chose sides, most breaking contact with me entirely, while simultaneously abandoning my disgraced father. The hypocrisy was stunning but unsurprising. Through it all, I maintained complete public silence, letting the evidence speak for itself. I launched a new, smaller development company focused on sustainable building practices and transparent business operations. Several key clients followed me, along with a handful of former Blackwood employees who had always been uncomfortable with the company culture. The emotional toll was immense. Despite the justice of my actions, I mourned the loss of the family I had thought I had. There were weeks of insomnia, days lost to anger and grief. I began therapy, working through the complex trauma of multi-layered betrayal. The journey was not linear progress measured in small moments of peace, rather than grand revelations. 1 year after filing for divorce, I attended a community planning meeting about revitalizing a neglected downtown district. There I met Elise, an urban planning consultant, whose straightforward manner and genuine passion for community development caught my attention. When she criticized aspects of my proposal without realizing who I was, I found her honesty refreshing after years of deference based solely on my family name. Our relationship developed slowly, built on mutual respect and radical transparency. I shared my full history early on, expecting her to run from the complicated baggage I carried. Instead, she listened thoughtfully and asked insightful questions. "You did what you needed to do," she said simply. "Sometimes, justice requires difficult choices." 2 years after the implosion of my family, I have built something new and authentic. My company is small, but respected for its ethical practices. My relationship with Elise continues to deepen based on genuine connection rather than appearance or advantage. I maintain contact with my mother, who has created her own fresh start in Europe. My father, awaiting trial on multiple charges, still occasionally attempts to reach out, claiming family should transcend all transgressions. Jackson and Amanda apparently tried to build a relationship on the ashes of their betrayal, but split acrimoniously within months. According to mutual acquaintances, she has moved to another state while he works for a former competitor in a significantly diminished role. I am sometimes called ruthless or unforgiving for my refusal to consider reconciliation. Former family friends have suggested that exposing my father's business practices went too far, that I should have separated personal betrayal from business matters. I disagree. The corruption was all connected personal and professional dishonesty flowing from the same source. True family is built on loyalty, honesty, and mutual respect, not blood relation or legal certification. What I destroyed was not family but a facade that had masked dysfunction and betrayal. What I have built in its place is smaller but solid authentic relationships with people who value truth over appearance. Some call what I did a villain arc. I see it differently. Sometimes the most heroic act is refusing to participate in a corrupt system even when that system is your family. Sometimes you must burn everything down to build something real. Have you ever had to choose between peace and justice in your life? Share your story below. And if my journey to reclaim my dignity resonated with you, hit that subscribe button and share this video with someone who might need to hear that standing up for yourself is not being a villain, it is being your own hero. Thanks for listening, and remember, family should be about love and loyalty, not lies and appearances.